Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Tricked Before. This time, Rejoined. Yeah, we're still Deep Space Nine. Rejoined. Hey, we want to rejoin with you. Maybe you've been a Patreon member. Maybe you haven't. We want you to become one then. Let's rejoin in a different way. Patreon.com/IABD. Great way to support us. Support the entire network. You get all the It's All Been Done radio hour stuff. All the behind the scenes stuff. So, jump in. Doesn't take much. Got a bunch of tiers, Tiers, bunch of tiers you can jump in on, and we'll love you, you'll love us. You get all the special episodes, all the bonus content. It don't take much. It don't take much. Speaking of, let's get rejoined. Deep Space Nine, It's All Been Tricked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. Your skeleton crew is here.
Indeed, this is Steven.
Jimmy Jerome. We're here to talk about the Deep Space Nine episode, Rejoined. First impressions.
I liked it a lot. I read some things about, the B plot wasn't so great. And it wasn't. In fact, I read that one of our writers for the show was just like, yeah, we just needed a way to get Lenara there. But the main thrust of the episode, of course, learning more about the Trills and this specific relationship. I just thought it was, and this is I think this was when there's the makeout scene, the iconic makeout scene. I wrote hot, sad, complicated. And I feel like that's the episode too. I mean all that in a good way. So yeah, that's my first impression.
I mean, yeah, this, technically, when you Google first homosexual network kiss on television, Dawson's Creek comes up, but that's 2000 when Kerr Smith and Adam Kaufman kissed. Okay. It does say, L.A. Law featured a lesbian kiss in 1991, which would have predated this. But there have been, of course, this being mentioned as the first. I don't know. I feel like it's less clear-cut than the first interracial kiss that I think Star Trek's pretty undisputed. But this was certainly the early days of this sort of thing. I did see in Memory Alpha that originally they were going to have the past lover be a man, and Ron D. Moore convinced them not to, thought it was a stronger story, and I know Terry Farrell said this was one of her favorite episodes. I loved it. It hit a little differently for me than the last time I watched it for many reasons that we can get into as we talk. But Dax is often spoken of as a trans icon in a certain sense, partially because of this episode, and a gay icon partially because of this episode, even though we never see Dax actually engaged in a homosexual relationship, right? Because of the different involving of symbionts and past lives and all that. Either way, I thought it was a good, strong episode. It never makes the top of the series list of episodes. I think that's just because there's so many huge standout ones, and this one's quieter.
Yeah,
but I think it might be. It's in my top 5 favorite Dax episodes. There's a couple. We already have the Klingon Dax episode, Blood Oath, that I love. Yeah, and there's a couple more coming up that are really strong Dax episodes. So I know we had a dearth of strong Dax episodes in those first few seasons, but we got a couple more. I'm not going to say there's a lot more, but there's a couple more coming.
At the very top, the cold open, I'd forgotten what the thrust of the episode was this week when we talked about it briefly before, and I'm like, oh. It's a Dax episode. It's clearly from the drop. You're like, okay, this is a Dax episode. This hasn't gone well in the past, but then once we got into the story, I forgot all about that. And it was really good. I wonder if it's the fact that the focus is on, and as I think one of the folks said, it may have even been Terry Farrell, that the episode's really about love, and obviously that's a good thing. Generally speaking, love is a good thing, I think. So maybe that's why it doesn't have it's not in that top 10, but again, as you said, a lot of those episodes also have a lot of other stuff going on. But yeah, really good episode, I thought.
This is probably Deep Space Nine's most controversial episode in terms of feedback. The station's got a lot of calls about it. Yeah. At least one Southern station refused to broadcast it. Definitely people calling the studio saying you're ruining my kids by making them watch two women kiss like that. Ignorance of the 90s, that thankfully things have gotten a little bit better in that front. A lot of bit better on that front.
Yeah,
even though we're sliding backwards right now. But this episode goes live, it may have slid backwards further. But as of right now, as we record this, at the end of 2025, it's gotten a lot better. So
yeah, I think I've mentioned before that, I feel like the mid late 90s was very like, oh man, two women kissing. That's so excited. And
but nobody in the episode treated it that way, which I think is
no,
honestly, it's
exactly.
gotten blowback from gay and trans communities too, because it's never acknowledged, because it's just kind of like,
Yes.
under the
Yep.
radar, which,
Yep.
you know, Star Trek, that's what Star Trek had to do. They always, in the 60s, they always had to slip
Hmm.
things under the radar,
Yep.
things that were obvious, but they couldn't come out and say it.
And that's what
So,
sci-fi does, and does it
yes.
well. Well, quite often does it well. But yeah, I know we're jumping to that scene, but if it'd been a guy, and maybe this is just Terry Farrell, but yeah, if she made out with a guy, that scene would have been hot too. But the episode, I don't know if the episode would have, I don't know if it would have been different or not. I guess the same feelings are going on. But our woman, Susanna Thompson,
Uh,
eh,
I think you're right. I
for
hadn't pulled up that yet.
I did say
Um,
one. I sorry, I did read that one of the reasons they
yes,
went
Susanna
with
Thompson.
two women or that they wanted to go with two women rather than two men was, that the main audience is guys, geeky guys who want to see two women. They don't want to see two guys kiss,
I
which
think that would have been more controversial if it were two
and
guys.
that
But they
too.
also already
I
had the
absolutely
character of
agree.
Dax, so
Yeah,
you
I
already had Terry Farrell.
yeah.
I do think this could be owing to the fact that Dax past host was the male in the relationship, the husband.
Hmm.
I think Terry Farrell always plays Jadzia with a bit of femininity and masculinity mixed
Yes,
together,
I agree. Yeah.
which I think is a great acting choice. I think it really
Hmm.
channels the duality of the symbiote in the past lives. But I think her more masculine aspects were played up in this episode.
Hmm.
It definitely felt like she was being more masculine, and that makes sense just from the standpoint of if her past host, male host, was coming back out
Hmm.
by sparked by this, she'd
Hmm.
act a little more masculine. Even though it's so strange to think of Terry Farrell ever being the
Right.
butch, quote unquote, in a
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it a lot. Like I said,
Yeah.
it hit me different this time.
Hmm.
It means
It.
more to me this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It. I
I
mean.
remember this episode. It hadn't slipped my
Yeah.
mind, but it was nice to
It's.
rewatch it.
It's heartbreaking. It's a heartbreaking episode, and we've talked in
It's
the past about the episodes where it's not earned. Requiem for the Methuselah and a few others through the years, but this one is one that's like, all right, this really hurts at the end. This is tough,
yeah, it
and credit to
was.
both actresses that they do.
Yes. They I don't know what kind of audition process they had or how they chose
Mhm.
Susanna Thompson. And Star Trek
Yeah.
will use Susanna Thompson again.
Yep.
She's best known for playing the Borg Queen in 3 episodes of Star Trek
Yeah.
Voyager, as well as in the oh no, she did not play it in the film.
Okay.
So there's another actress that plays the Borg Queen in a film first in Star Trek First
Oh.
Contact.
Oh,
But
okay.
then that actress, Alice Krige, wasn't available for Voyager. So they brought in Susanna Thompson to play the Borg Queen down the road. And obviously in Star Trek Picard, well, you haven't seen that. We get
Right.
another actress playing the Borg Queen.
Okay.
But she's also known
Uh,
for Malignant, Dragonfly, and
mhm.
the TV show Once and Again, which I definitely watched with our friend Billy
Mhm.
Campbell is in that. Celia Ward, Jeff Lee Nordling. She was one of the stars of that. I remember Evan Rachel Wood. That was a fun show. But yeah, she's got a lot. She's got 57 credits. One of her last major roles was playing Moira Queen in the television show Arrow for the CW in over 48
Oh, okay.
episodes in
That makes
the
sense.
Arrowverse.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah, it
then
looks like
she
she's
was
only got 2 acting credits in the last 5 years. So
yeah, and then she was ramen that I liked a lot. So yeah, I mean obviously, and I think I said this then, she's a very attractive woman. That doesn't hurt the making this episode interesting.
no, I kept trying to decide whether I would rather be Jadzia Dax or her. Uh, and I wasn't sure. I never did come up with a
Yeah.
true answer. Oh yeah, right. She played Varel in Next Gen season 5, and she also played an inmate named Jaya in season 6 of Next Gen. So she was in Next Gen twice before they
Yeah.
cast her in this.
Yeah. She,
Yeah,
yeah. I like I said, I've enjoyed her as an actress, and she's obviously a very attractive person.
very, absolutely, totally agree. So let's
And
get
I
to the
think
beginning of this episode.
yep.
Dax is doing magic tricks for Quark, sleight of hand, and Quark's guesses are ridiculous. And I do think Quark should be smarter than that, given that he's like a
Yeah.
con man. But then also, Quark's schemes are so complex that maybe the simple stuff just goes by him. I don't know.
Yeah, like it's the idea that Ferengi just don't understand magic. It's not something they do on their planet, maybe. I don't
I
know.
mean, I
But
can't believe they wouldn't do magic. I feel like that's got to be a thing. Like, You got to have the
get
3-card
money.
Monty at every street
Yeah.
corner in the Fragonar.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Get pretty wet if it was 3-card Monty, but
from a purely prurient, I think I'm using the right word thing. The episode starting with her, removing an egg from her mouth is just like, okay, we're already off in, that direction. Although that said, like I said, we've talked about the kiss. It's very hot, but it's not. The episode is not overtly sexual. It's overtly romantic. That's for sure. Not
yes.
sexual.
Well, it struck me almost immediately that there was some new and interesting direction going on in that first scene. And then the transition scene, Dax coming up on the turbo lift into ops, and the shots in Sisko's office in that first scene. And so immediately I'm jumping on my computer to see who directed this episode because it stood out to me.
Yeah.
And I don't think it should surprise you because he's one of the best directors of the series, even though he hasn't had a lot of directing since then. But it was Mr. Avery Brooks. Benjamin Sisko himself, this was the 4th time he directed the series, so we've mentioned him before. And he will direct once more this season, once in season 5, once in season 6, and once in season 7. So he actually, season 3 was the height of his directing. He did 3 episodes in season 3, and then only 2 and 4 and 1 after that. I think they should let him direct more. I think he's a very interesting director, a very fascinating director. I do think the season 6 episode they let him direct, which is a very Sisko-heavy episode, was the perfect director vehicle for him, and it is in the top 5 episodes of Deep Space Nine, maybe top 5 of Star Trek. So they definitely give him some good ones. They don't just.
He said this was his favorite that he directed, and maybe that's just being.
You can't believe he liked this better than Far Beyond the Stars in season 6 because that's the showcase one that he does. But I do think they don't make him take the necessarily throwaways. I think they give him some good episodes, and this was a good one. I am really glad it had an interesting director because I think that added to the quality of the piece. And when you're doing an episode that you want to showcase a bit more, it's nice to have some good direction on it.
Yeah, it felt different. Yeah, it's very astute observation. And Terry Farrell said it was her favorite episode, and which makes sense.
Yes, her favorite Dax episode for sure.
Yeah.
I did really appreciate the Sisko Dax dynamic in this. I know we've talked about their past friendship and he calls her old man and everything. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this was the first episode where we really see it fully formed. I think they've danced around it and we've had little moments, but these are 2 conversations that really showed the depth of their relationship. And I liked that so much. I think we'll get more of this going forward in small snatches, but I liked spending the time on it here. It's not a straightforward relationship. I love where she's like, am I that dispensable? And he's like, yep, we'll never notice that you're gone. That was beautiful. Yeah. Because you could tell he didn't mean it, obviously. But yeah, it was just so good. First, true exploration of the fully formed dynamic between the 2 of them.
And I mentioned it before, I like Sisko's couch. I like that he's got that in there. A better place to hang out and talk. Yeah.
And the old TOS era starship model, that's the ball, and then the tube body.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think if you notice, the clock he was building in the episode They Went Crazy is still in there. And I want to say there's a model of the Bajoran solar sail in there, too, if you look around.
Yeah.
And, of course, the baseball on the desk that we got from season 1 in that episode. The other thing that really struck me, I have very few, nitpicks about this episode, but one that struck me right away was Dax is like, oh, well, I never let past lives interfere with my duties. I'm like, really? Because Blood Oath, I'm pretty sure you put your duties aside and went on a quest to help Klingons. So I think she's not quite accurate there when she says she never lets it interfere with her duties. Then we go back to Quark, and this was purely for the audience, right? Where Quark's confused and doesn't remember her past hosts, so we have to go through them and list them in order and explain what Dax is and who she is and how it works.
I wrote that's a good recap of how the host thing works, because I was feeling the same way in my head that he was, or he described himself. So I'm like, all right, take me through this. Okay, I think I got it. I
Yeah, why you have a lead character do it, but I don't buy that Quark doesn't know this because he's fascinated by Jadzia. We've seen that before. I don't buy that he doesn't get it. I can see maybe O'Brien not having paid enough attention, but they barely used O'Brien in this episode.
Yeah, but
something we'll talk about more in a second. But
I still enjoyed the way they worked that in. But yeah, you and I could both see
It's fun, but
the work.
it took me out of it for a minute. It was where you could see the seams, you could see the strings, right? Instead of just enjoying the episode.
Yep.
Then Bashir started doing Dax's magic trick, and I was just tickled by that. I love the way their friendship has developed. I know it took forever to get past creepy Bashir phase, but the Bashir and Dax friendship at this point in the series is, I love it. It's such a great dynamic. I was gonna say it's one of my favorites, but there's so many. I mean, the Cisco Dax, the Quark Odo, the Odo Kira, the Kira Cisco, like the Bashir O'Brien. There's so many dynamics I love, but that's one of them that I love. Like Eric Bashir. Yeah, Bashir and Dax. Great episode for the two of them.
I just to back up a little bit, the open was such a great. I mean, it ends with a great stinger, cold open when Lenara shows up. Yeah, and I wrote down my wife, but very relatable. The whole like, wait a minute, didn't you? Yeah, she used to be my wife. Boom, and it's like, okay, now we know where we are. And
yeah, see, I knew going into it, that's what it was. Did you, were you in the dark? Were you wondering, or did you figure it out before they said it?
No, I didn't know. We might have talked about it, but I might have blocked it out when we did. But I knew, I don't think, I knew there was a relationship. I didn't think it was wife. I just thought it was, we dated or whatever, we're involved.
Okay.
But and so I thought, as setups go, as cold opens go, it's great. And then in the middle, Worf's like, well, if you come with me, I'll show you your quarters. Just trying to break the tension when she first shows up. Or it's been a long time. Yes, it has. Long pause. If you come with me, I'll show you your quarters. And then Kira's nice and nosy.
Worf doesn't have a lot, but there's a couple fun little bits for him. And it made me realize, I know we're only, 5 episodes into this season?
Yeah.
But it feels like Way of the Warrior, he was obviously front and center, and then we haven't used him since. And
it's funny, I keep forgetting that he's on here now, and then when I'm reminded, it's very nice. I don't know, it's very comforting in whatever way. It's like, oh, cool. That's right, Worf's
here. He's got lots of good stories coming up, and he's definitely integrated into this cast quickly, whereas this episode I felt was an integrated episode. Like he's already mixing and mingling and whatever. Even though it still feels like there's a little bit of distance between him and the senior staff, as there should be. I'm not complaining about it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to get Worf here, and I want to see more of him being involved. I was wondering why the tactical officer has to show guests to their quarters, but then I'm like, well, it's got to be a senior staff member, right? And Worf's a senior staff member. It makes sense. He's a high-ranking officer to give him that duty. But then when you find out that he's commanding the Defiant on this mission, it makes even more sense that he's the one there welcoming him. Like he's spearheading this mission. And I think this is a way Deep Space Nine uses Worf well, is we've got the station and we've got the ship and we've got all this stuff. And as much as I do think Cisco could have handled it all, it's nice to have somebody you could delegate. So if Cisco's doing stuff on the station, Worf can take the Defiant and do stuff. And as much as Kira's the first officer, she doesn't get those parts, but Worf does, because it's just the role he plays. And I like it. I think we'll see more of Worf doing command level things in this series, and we see him grow as a character. Like I said, I think he gets more growth in each of the 4 seasons here than he does in 7 of Next Gen. So at the reception, Kira's in a dress uniform that's blue. First time we've seen that dress uniform, I know. And I was like, oh, that's even a different color, where Starfleet, it's so similar to their uniforms. It's so weird to see the Bajoran version be so different. I liked it, though.
Before that, Kira and Bashir have a conversation about the whole thing, about the magic, and then they get into talking about the rules of, the Trill Way is what I'm calling it. And Nana Visitor does this weird thing where she kind of reclines against the wall with her leg up. And I was like, oh, yeah, those guys were probably dating right at this time, right? Because
in real life,
it felt like tension. And not to say it was over the top, but it was enough from watching the show and just whatever. It was like, oh. And I was like, oh, this makes sense because they're dating now. In my mind, it made sense because they're dating in real life at this time or whatever. And then it was, it was another good way to explain some of the rest of the Trill rules and everything. And I know some of that was, I wrote down the Trill Way may not be the best way. And, and they, as the episode develops, it's like, they get in the conversation of, well, this is the way things are for now. And do we want to risk it? And, obviously that's addressing the Earth things in the episode.
felt very 90s judgment of homosexuality.
Yes, it did. Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It kind of made, like, their reasons kind of made sense, but so do some of the anti-homosexual agenda if you don't examine it for more than half a second. Like, a
Right.
couple of things they say on their face, like, oh, you're trying to raise children in traditional family structure because that's what's best for them. And you're like, okay, but wait, we don't always, like, even traditional family structures can be horrible. People can be abusive. You can, like, it immediately falls apart when you examine it, but it sounds nice. And I think
Well,
this is similar about, like, well, the children have to experience as much as they can with the
right.
symbionts. That sounds nice, but well, shouldn't part of that thing being, like, pursuing your own thing and exploring? And just because you have a repeat romance in one lifetime, like between two lifetimes, doesn't mean that all 9 of your hosts are going to keep coming back together. Like,
and I know, even in Discovery, we've gotten into the Trill way, and it's it feels like a religion kind of, and it's their belief system or whatever, and it makes sense. Sure. But I thought here it really, again, to hit that 90s, here's how the U.S. especially, or whatever, I don't know if the U.S. especially, but is not enlightened, about this. And so, and religion is a big part of that, still is now, for worse or worse. So I thought this episode, I thought the Trill conversation, especially here, Kieran Bashir, and later in the episode, was very like, well, that's the way they do things, and you don't want to be exiled, and the exile thing is very, I mean that it again, like you were saying, it's like, well, would that be such a bad thing? And it's like, probably not for those two. They can travel the galaxy or whatever, or maybe not as much for those two, but maybe it would be, But again, it speaks to an experience, obviously, that's going on, still goes on in the world and stuff. So,
I mean, I can also unfortunately speak a little bit to that too.
Yes, you can. Yes,
but not because of the transition. So we're not going to get into it. But again, one more thing that hits home a little bit about the decision that she had to make, and wow, man, this was the right time in my life to watch this, I guess. So Worf has in that reception scene, Worf has a great moment where they ask him about how Klingons dream, and he basically gives that really dark answer about their dreams, and I am 80% sure he's just messing with them.
Yeah.
Like, because we saw traces of Worf humor in Next Gen, especially at the end. In Deep Space Nine, we're going to see so much more that's why I'm mostly thinking he's joking.
Yeah.
But there's also the times where it sounds like he's joking and it's completely authentic. So it could be a combination. It could be authentic, but I'm mostly sure he was joking there.
The way he immediately exits too is great. It's just like, I'm going to drop this, leave, and then I love Kira. Yeah, I can never tell when he's joking. And maybe it's better that we do not.
It's such a Worf move. That is like a signature great. Worf thing. It's another example of the Deep Space Nine writers showing that they understand the humor of Worf, whereas the Next Gen writers had a hard time getting there. Yeah. This is story by Renee Echeverria, one of our regulars, and teleplay by Renee and Ron D. Moore, who we already brought up. So these are like key DS9 people. Yeah. And the fact that they get Worf so quickly should tell you the direction the show's heading with him. Because the snippets of Worf we get here, expanded over the next 4 seasons, are going to pay off in dividends.
And I think this is the first episode they wrote together.
It might be. I don't know. But yeah, they're both key people in this saga. We go to the Defiant. They're getting ready to leave on the mission. And all of a sudden, Eddington's there. And we haven't seen him in a while. But he's doing O'Brien's job. He's manning engineering. Since when do security officers man engineering? And I didn't look it up, but was Cole Meany like filming another movie? So
that's
they only had him for 2
seconds. He doesn't show up here, right?
He was in briefly in one scene early in the episode where he's like preparing Eddington to go on the mission. Yeah. But it very much feels like, was Cole Meany not available? Or is it because you have a plot coming up for Eddington, so you need to remind us and you don't have any other place to stick him? So let's give Cole Meany the week off other than the hour he showed up to do his scene. I don't know.
It kept hitting me, and then this may still work by the time this comes out, but the movie Eddington came out this year, 2025, when we're recording. So every time they said Eddington, I kept thinking of that. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that Eddington was one of our guys.
I mean, he barely is one of our guys.
Yeah, but not. Maybe he's the guy that's on the show. Let's just say that.
This is his 5th episode. It sure does not feel like that. That we've had him. I was gonna guess like 3rd.
Yeah,
it's his 5th. He will be in a couple more this season and beyond this season as well. But I think his plot heats up towards the end of this season. So I think maybe at this point, even though it's many months away, they were already talking about it, and we're like, well, if we want to do something with him, season 3, he's in 4 episodes. That's the most he's ever in of any season. He's not like ever. He doesn't like ramp up as the war begins like a lot of the recurring characters do. He's kind of fading out, but it's still like, oh, they actually have the episodes that are most heavy Eddington haven't happened yet, so he will get plot. It's just, it's just weird that we're this far into his arc before we get anything for him. It honestly confuses me why he's even there at this point. Like, I'm glad we have him for later, so it's a known quantity for his plot that's coming up, without having to send one of our leads through it. But also, like, yeah, he's barely there. Dax apologizes to Khan. Lenara Khan is her name. Interesting that the name Khan comes up again.
Yeah.
Don't know if there's anything, probably nothing into that, but
I think it's Kahn this time. It's like Madeline Khan.
It is Kahn, not Khan. You're right. It's. I mean, I would have been really great if they had another episode of Deep Space Nine where she came back called The Wrath of Khan, where she was upset at Jadzia. She doesn't. This is her only appearance, this character. Yeah. I mean, when Jadzia says late in the episode, not to get too far ahead, but she's like, I know if you leave, you'll never come back. That's true. And I don't regret that they did that. I don't think there was more to be milked there. But also, it could have been a fun alternate episode. Jadzia apologizes to her for the death. And I thought it was interesting that we got the details of the death. And we learned so much about their dynamic as a married couple in that exchange. And I can absolutely see how a married couple, if he had survived what happened, this is the story of how they'd pick up after. Because it feels like all those decades and lifetimes have been gone. And they're picking up right from that moment. Then, of course, they have their dinner with Bashir as a buffer. Yeah. Poor Julian. Poor Julian. I mean, Dax having to beg him to come was immediately telling that how it was going to go, but oof.
And it's at 2200, and I know I always say, like, well, when is that? But just if we go with our Earth knowledge of 2200, that's a late dinner. I mean, and I eat late dinners, but that's a late dinner.
That thought did cross my mind that's 10 o'clock for us. Keep in mind that Bajor and Deep Space Nine have a 26-hour day.
Oh, that's a good point.
So depending on how it works, you could say it's the 8 o'clock dinner, which feels way too late for me, but on TV, that's a common thing we see as an 8 p.m. dinner. So
I thought,
if you want to split the difference, call it a 9 p.m. dinner, which is still a little late.
I thought, and this just made me think of, we always talk about the paper printers on the TOS Enterprise, but Bashir sitting there and not having being able to have his cell phone out. It's like, because he would, that's what he would be doing instead of being like, I'm so bored and picking at his food.
I would love to see him sneak a glance at a pad under the table.
Right. And like, it would have been nice if he was looking around, at least maybe checking out people or something. I bet, I know what they were trying to get. I thought that part was maybe a little hammy, for lack of a better term, but it didn't go on that long. So
for a moment, I was going to say it was over the top, but you also get the impression it's been hours. And like they mentioned, he was there all night putting up with her. He was probably a lot more so earlier in the night. And, over time, you can't necessarily keep it up. I love that it was just like, oh, somebody's got broken leg. I have to go. Judy comes.
And I like Lenara's line as soon as he leaves. Now that's a good friend.
Right. Because it's clear that they both recognize, and it's a little bit rude that they let him hang like that, but at the same time you get all of it. And there's nothing inauthentic about that scene. It feels very well developed.
Yes.
And I liked Bashir's presence. Like, it makes a lot of sense why you'd have Bashir in that scene, even though he was barely in the scene.
And I like that it wasn't, we talk about the whole, like, I talk about this all the time, all the plays I read where two people are talking about this thing that happened to them. And like, remember when this happened? It's like, of course I did. I was there, that kind of thing. I thought this was more of we're re-examining this thing. We're living old times, but also really providing new information, not just for this show, but to each other, rather than, hey, we're talking about this thing that we were both at, and we're just doing exposition that two people wouldn't actually do with each other. So I thought that was handled well as well.
Yeah. So from there, we've got the Judgy Trill discussion. I am so grateful. I thought about this later. So grateful that it's her brother instead of like
Yes.
a boyfriend or husband, because that would have
Yes.
changed the dynamic entirely. But it's Dr. Bajal Otner, which I don't know why. Oh, of course, different last name because of the joining. I was like, why do they have
Yeah.
a different last name?
Yeah.
Played by Senator Tim Ryan.
Wait, what?
No, played by Tim Ryan, who only vaguely looks like the senator, not at all the senator Tim Ryan.
Yeah.
But I did have to. I was like, that's not him, but he looks just enough like. I googled just to be sure.
Mm.
Like,
Hmm.
there's just a little bit around the face and stuff that he looks like the senator Tim Ryan, not strongly, but a little bit. He's best known for one episode of No Ordinary Family, one episode of Family Matters, one episode of Judging Amy, and 10
Wow.
episodes of China Beach. He only
Okay.
has 47 credits. I say only because these things he's best known for are one episode parts, which he has a ton of in different shows. Less so recently. This is his only appearance in all of Trek. He did have one credit for 2025, but he hadn't had credit in 8 years before that.
I
So
did love China Beach. That's a show I'd like to. I'd be interested if I
have the
can
whole
find it
thing on
anywhere.
DVD. They sent to me for review, but I've never watched it. I know
Oh yeah,
Dana Delaney was in that.
Dana Delaney was great. Yeah, I don't know that I watched every episode, but I feel like it was one of those that came on. People were like, "This is a great show," but then nobody watched it, and then they started moving it around. And
Picardo was one of the stars of that through the whole
yes,
thing.
he was great on there too. I remember that too. Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Boatman, Marg Hellenberger, like names
Yes,
that I
Margaret.
recognize.
Yeah, Helgenberger was phenomenal on there. I loved her. She
Jeff
was great.
Kober. Yeah,
Yeah. So
those are
I'd
people I
be
know. But
curious to
also
check that
13
out.
episodes, Ricky Lake.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think it was a very good choice of the writers to make it her brother.
Yes.
So,
I think it gives it a different vibe
so different.
because I know Pren's kind of seeing them, but I don't know if doesn't he kind of say like I just hope it doesn't interfere with the work? I can't remember what his.
Yeah, I think that's his attitude. You're talking about Hanor Pren, the like lead scientist played by
Yeah.
James Noah, who's best known for the 1996 film Black Sheep, Sliver, 1993 film, Enough with Halle Berry, and one episode of Star Trek Voyager is makes his best known for in season 3. So we'll be coming on that up to that next year. Around this time, he also did an episode of Seinfeld.
Oh.
He played Ned in the season 7 episode The Maestro.
Oh. Huh.
So he actually has a 50 credits. I was gonna say a ton, but no, not much more than the brother.
One of the guys from the electric company, but it wasn't. It was not him. Different guy.
No. Yeah, he mostly seemed to stay out of it, and then he seemed to take like a well, if that's what he chooses, that's what he chooses, or she chooses, that's what she chooses. Like he did not get as involved with the brother, which again makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I did wonder if Lenara in the scene where she's telling her brother that nothing's going on, is she lying to him or is she lying to herself?
Yeah, I think that's where they want us to be too. They want us to be like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this either.
The lady
And
dog protests too much.
yeah, and I think Susanna Thompson plays it perfectly so that we
Mm-hmm.
do feel that way. That we do that because she plays it in the way that she's questioning it. She's
Yeah.
not sure, which I think is very again. It's one of those difficult things to do. Like I'm showing, but I'm not showing. That's a tricky thing. I think she does it great.
Absolutely. Then we have the kiss is. I put the kiss is
Yes,
because
yeah, because I was
it's not just
expecting just
one.
the kiss, and I don't mean to say this in a frat boy way. I mean to say this more in a like this is a really just like sensual, sexual scene, and I think that, again, as I've said, I don't think there's anything wrong with that in art and everything, and I think it's a thing that's got to be part of Star Trek, and not just because of the horny teenage boys, which I was one of them until recently, more or less. But I think it's and hot's not the best word, but it's more like yeah, like I said, it's sensual, it's sexual, sensuous. I can't remember the distinction with those from Animal House, but no, you again, it just further for me further helps emphasize all the feelings that are going on with them because all of that's happening in that moment. It's not just like because for me, and definitely you could be that, and probably in that, and maybe in '95, I would have been that guy who's like, oh man, two hot chicks
Oh,
kissing.
I definitely was the first time I saw it.
Yeah, but this time it's like there's all the other stuff, all this stuff going on of we've been separated, and like you were saying, I think our guy Avery Brooks and the two actresses just nail it. Like it's you could go over the top with it, you could just make it about the sex and the making out, but it's just everything gets encapsulated in there, and I tip my hat to them, all of them.
Yeah, and just from a like purely concrete factual basis, like there's
Mhm.
spit hanging between their lips. Like
Yeah.
it's not a small chase like Kirk takes
Uh-huh.
Uhura and, presses mouth to mouth,
Yeah.
just to whatever. Like you're right, it was sensual, it was romantic, it was full of emotion, it was not gratuitous,
Hmm.
but it
Exactly.
was like intense.
Yeah.
No matter what like, it's just yeah. So I give them major credit for every aspect of the choices they made there. But yeah.
While we're now while we're I'm alluding to our guy Avery Brooks, I thought the way they shot a lot of the close-ups from this episode, especially of those two, was really good. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
was like unrelenting in a way almost, which is a choice and a good choice, and I think it's a good choice for this episode. And
Mm-hmm.
again, the two ladies nail it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Then speaking of Avery Brooks, the very next notes I have are for the second scene that Dax and Cisco have in his
Mm-hmm.
office. Him arguing with her. He takes such a strong stance against her doing it. It feels
Yeah,
very judgmental. And for part of the scene, I was like, dude, you're just being so rough.
that's where I was
But
too.
but then the way they come out, like, oh, well, and I wrote, do we agree with him? Because
Mm-hmm.
the way he was laying it out is not saying whether he agrees the rules are right or not, but
Mm-hmm.
like the consequences are so severe, and I know what
Yeah.
those consequences mean, which is a
Mm-hmm.
good friend. But
Yeah.
I'm so glad that at the end he's like, and no matter what you choose, I have your back completely,
Mm-hmm.
completely. And that's, he, and she says, like, you've never had a friend like you. And he's like, no,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's just so freaking strong
Mm-hmm.
in that scene. I think he does what he needs to do. He gives
Yeah.
her the tough love talk that is
Yep.
necessary in the scene,
Mm-hmm.
but also expresses it's like such a good. It makes you want to be his best friend, doesn't it? Like you
Yeah.
wish you had a Cisco in your life.
Yeah. It was very touching. Yeah, but yeah, I went on the same route as you. I was like, what the hell, man? And it's like, oh no, okay, yep, we got there.
Yeah, totally, totally worthwhile and yes, satisfying. So Dex goes to her, Lenara. Oh, when the disaster happens, when Lenara's
Yes.
trapped behind the plasma fire in Eddington, as a security chief is surely not going to do anything because he's going to be a cowering coward because
Yeah.
whatever. But also, like, yeah, that's unfair. There's no way for him to get to her. What Dax does to get to
Right.
her is crazy. It's such
Yeah.
a risk. Unless you're in love with the person, you don't do it
Right.
or just have a hero complex, I guess. Also, really cool shot of her walking in the force field. Don't know how they shot it. We've never seen anything like that in Star Trek. That was awesome.
It, I
Did not. I
read
was like, is
they.
she going on the ledge to jump? No, she's walking on the force field over the plasma
Yeah.
fire.
It it
The
looked
force field could die any second. They said 10 to 20 seconds.
It
Well, you
looked
could be
very
plunged down.
90s, but yeah, so she was shot skating, quote unquote, down a board painted blue against a blue screen, which
Okay.
also feels very 90s. So, but yeah,
I mean, everything about it worked for me. I thought it was
yeah,
excellent. It
yeah.
was really cool. I was so impressed. I mean, I was impressed with Avery Brooks all throughout, but another thing, like, did he come up with that or was that? I don't know, but oh, it was so good. Anyway, the brotherly. There's the scene where Dax and Lenara have like been pulled through the hole, like they're fine. I
Hmm.
was wondering, like, oh, how does she get her back across? But no, of course, there's like a Jeffries tube compartment or whatever that they can go into and close the door. Fine, makes total sense.
Hmm.
That scene, they were so intense. Like, I can't lose you. You'll never have to lose me. And then the
Yes,
very next scene is Lenara shutting her down. And I get it
yeah.
because she's clearly just had some alone time with her brother who's set her straight. And I get the emotion of the moment drove the
Hmm.
earlier conversation, but it makes it all the more heartbreaking when you're sure that like they're gonna be okay, after that they're going to be together, and then the turn. It's also super realistic. Like, again, I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
complaining about the structure of it and the way they did it.
Oh
Just
yeah.
oof. Oh,
Yeah.
that it hits you so much harder because they have that moment where it's like, oh no.
Yeah, yeah, and, and the emotion, everything gets you, and to say things you might not say, and then she gets time to think about it, and
They
then
could have just
again,
killed her off. It would have been kinder to all of us, right?
yeah,
But also,
and then the
I,
last to go back to Avery Brooks with for
yeah.
giving him credit, or the writers, or both, everybody, the last
Mhm.
part without any dialogue and everything, and I thought Lanero was not going to find her, and then eventually I'm like, no, she's going to find her, and this is going to, oh, it's going
What
to
a great
hurt.
choice that she couldn't, and then she turned back one more time and did.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it.
but before that, the brother scene, when did you know it
Oh
was
yeah.
going to be bad news? Because I knew the second the brother just left the room without
Yeah.
putting up a fight. Like, oh, oh no, 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 the brother, if the brother leaves now, because you'd expect the brother to be like, I don't want to leave you two alone. You could,
Mm-hmm.
she might sway you back
Oh
or whatever.
yeah.
Nope, the brother just turns and
Yeah.
leaves. I'm like, oh crap, we're done. We're done.
I I guess the part of me that's like, oh, I know how the series works, and I don't think that this Lennar is going to be part of it. That part of me maybe in the back of my head, but although I still got super sad. So, but yeah, that's actually a good point. That yeah, that's when it happened. I felt like it was gonna happen either way. Well, actually, I take that back. I kept thinking there was going to be some other excuse that's why she had to, rather than what they'd already kind of hit on and recognizing the galaxy
Did
they live in.
Did you ever for a second think, because we talk about that there are
Mhm.
major recurring characters in DS9, including a
Yeah,
couple we haven't met yet, that she might stick
yeah,
around?
yeah. I think I did. Well, I thought there might be a chance, but I thought, oh, they're gonna come up with some other reason that she can't be around or whatever, and then yeah. But that last scene, yeah. I
Any
mean,
other
among other
Star
things.
Trek show, there would have never been any tension that she might have stayed. And I
Mm,
love that Deep Space Nine has enough tension that you think for a second,
yeah,
is it possible?
yeah. It, yeah. That last, and it's also I this is going back to the beginning of the series, but in I guess a different way. I always talked about like the love boat, but it's definitely one of those things where it's like there's always, and it happens on a starship or anything else too, or planet or whatever, or
Mhm.
Columbus, Ohio, or whatever.
Sure.
But especially here, it's the nature of the station is people entering and departing, and that's exactly what happens here. And in a very short amount of time, people in and out of your life, which I guess is kind of an underlying theme of this series. But this really brings it home. And
There
like
is
you
that
said,
brief fake out where she's not with the brother and the older doctor when they get
yes,
on.
yeah,
At first, I was like, is that manipulative and cheap?
hmm,
And then I was like, well, she might have been like hanging back so she could have a moment with Dax, but Dax is up there on the pedestal
yeah.
instead of down. So I don't know. I don't necessarily think it was a cheap ploy, but at the same time, it
I
was
don't
kind of like
either.
that.
Do you? I mean, in my mind, Dax knew it wasn't going to happen. I mean, she was there
Yeah.
that day. She knew. That's another reason she wasn't down there. She wasn't gonna.
I think she wanted the finality of seeing her board the vessel.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though she knew it wasn't gonna, like, you don't want, as much as you already know the foregone conclusion, you don't want to
Hmm.
like sit in your quarters and wonder and fret. It's better
Yeah,
to be like, okay, I'm gonna see it. I see her step on. I know it's over.
yeah.
So
And
final.
and I think,
That long look. Oof.
yeah, I yeah, and I think, for lack of a better term, quote unquote, easier for her to watch from there rather than have another moment. And I think I thought of this during the episode, is it's when somebody's leaving, regardless of what it is, if it's for a few months or whatever, somebody that you love and you care about and you want around, and there's going to be a separation for a while. There's no amount of time that's gonna if you spend another hour together, it's still gonna hurt. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. And that's
Hmm.
kind of again driven home here. I thought it was excellent because they've across lifetimes they've been doing this to an extent.
Yeah.
So I wrote earned sadness, and yeah, I skipped over my one other note was my alternate episode, and this would completely change it, and we kind of talked about it. But Lenara is played by Andy Dick. Then it's completely different. It's a very 90s thing. It's a
Oh,
completely different episode, but it's definitely not sad. Well,
my
it's a different
alternate
kind of sad.
my alternate episode similarly, like, negatively like reimagines it.
Mm-hmm.
But do you remember the one episode we had the Trill in the Next Gen? And they
Yeah,
looked
yeah, yeah,
very different because
yeah.
they decided to go with the Famke Janssen.
Mm-hmm.
That was a totally different alien.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Even if it was Terry Farrell and Susanna Thompson, if they had the old Trill loaf on them from that Next Gen episode, I don't think it hits
Oh,
as hard. I think
yeah.
it's harder to like. You still get it. They're good enough
Mm-hmm.
actresses. You would still
Yeah.
feel it,
Yeah.
but without. If they were unattractive looking, it hits a
Yeah.
little differently.
Well, and maybe this is the makeup for that because, we talked about it then. Not only was did they, bail on committing to it, but
Yeah.
Crusher just being like, oh, I can't possibly love you now because you're a woman. And as I recall, the new woman is very attractive. And that would definitely be a place like, come on, you got to kiss. So maybe this was a little bit of payback for that too, but still,
But
they also rip our heart out.
but also if that guy Trill in Next Gen woke up and looked like either Terry Farrell or Susanna Thompson in
Right.
this episode, I don't think Crusher has the same hesitancy. I'm sorry.
Fair point. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't care how straight you are. No, I do care because just because we like women doesn't mean everybody likes women.
This is
But
true.
you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Let's rank this episode. I think. Who's your shady character in Rejoined?
Was it Prin? Just the way that he's hanging on the stairs while they're having dinner. That was my shade.
The old Trill?
Yeah.
Honor Prin? Okay.
Yeah.
I really, really struggled with finding anybody being shady. I thought everybody was very upfront about their intentions for a second. Jadzia, like, doing the dinner under pretext. I was like, I'm going to have to go with that. But instead, I went with Worf because of the way he left the dreams. Like, is he joking or not? And he did it, like, very ambiguous. That was as shady as this episode got, which I appreciated. I'm all for a straightforward episode. Who was your annoyance?
The Trill way, just the whole, and again, when we think about it in terms of our society or whatever, then it fits even better. Like, come on, guys, don't be jerks. But
same, we completely are aligned on this. The rules and stuff of the Trill just stupid. I just put the Trill because Who are you having a drink with?
Lenora, just because I have limited time with her. Just like Dax, I want to spend as much time with her as I can.
I really went back and forth on whether to do Lenara or Jadzia. Why I landed on Jadzia was purely because she made the choice I think I would have, that she was going to sacrifice and go for it. And Lenara did not. So that's where I chose Jadzia. I mean, also she's going to need some commiseration because she's upset because she just got left. But it was mainly like, oh no, with Jadzia, I feel more for her. I'm a little annoyed at Lenara for, even though I get it, like, it's a legitimate thing. That's a big sacrifice and a big ask her to give up everything. And I'm not mad at her. I can't fault her strongly. It's just frustrating because Dax put herself out there so much and Lenara smacked her down. And it's like, how dare you? So, yeah. It would have been a different story had Jadzia been the one to say no and Lenara been the one to say yes. I think it would have said something different about Jadzia as a character. It would not have been true to who Jadzia. Like, I think we could have justified it as being true given the past hosts and all these different things. Like, I think we could have gotten a way where the writers could have justified it being Jadzia's choice. But it feels better to me to make it Lenara's choice. So.
Yeah.
Ranking the episode. I know this is only the 5th episode of the season, so we're slim pickings. Or not slim pickings, but it's hard to rank. I'm going to start with... So I think of the 4 episodes, we haven't had any bad ones, but 2 are much stronger than the other 2. So I'm going to start with the lower of the 2 strong ones and see where we go. The Way of the Warrior. Better or worse than The Way of the Warrior?
It is a good episode. See, I feel like this is like the thing of like, well, but so much happened in that episode.
Right.
Although this one
would be like,
definitely...
that's just way more important to the franchise and everything as a whole.
Yeah, this one affected me more as a person or my heart. I think I'd have it 3, probably. But
yeah, I think I got to go below 2. I think it's very debatable, but The Way of the Warrior is such a big pivotal episode for the series. It's really hard to put it above, even though I loved this episode. Yeah. Even with my personal feelings right now, I actually feel slightly stronger about this episode right now than Way of the Warrior, but I understand that's personal, and I separate and looked at it objectively. I think Way of the Warrior makes more sense to have above. Below that right now is Indiscretion, which was also an extremely strong episode.
Yeah, I think that one's good. Man, we got a good season.
Kind of torn. I'll be honest, I'm torn.
Yeah.
Dukat Kira overall are stronger stories than Dax in general.
And you got the Cassidy Yates thing going on too.
I think for my personal feelings right now, I want me to put this in 3. But I can absolutely see, like, any other time, I probably would automatically put this in 4. So it's hard to. It's definitely not 5. Hippocratic Oath was a great episode, but this is better than Hippocratic Oath.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So we're really, is it above or below Indiscretion?
I'm gonna say let's go above and honor the uniqueness of the episode. That's not a great point.
I think that is a really good point. And I also think another reason to go above is because this episode has been underrated in a way it shouldn't have been over the history of Star Trek. So I think the controversy kept people from like putting it on the list just because they didn't want to start arguments.
Because that's not really what the episode's about.
No. And that's, I mean, they mention in them out because I did read like some of the trivia, and they're like, the original series cast were always insistent that the Uhura Kirk kiss, that episode was not about interracial kiss either. Like it wasn't about the issue.
Right.
And this is not about homosexuality. Yeah. It's not about trans community. It is purely about these two people in a very personal love story. And yet you can't, in this day and age, separate the context from what was going on. Yeah. And I think even then, the context didn't hit as solidly as it does now. I think even then the context was too conflicted in the moment to hit as hard as it does right now looking back at it. So I think over time, in honor of what it represented in the time period it was in, it should go a little higher than it would have.
Yeah.
My first time through, I would have put it below Indiscretion, but I don't think it's out of line to put it above now.
Two very, very strong set of shows this season. Crusher's woman. Very attractive lady as well, but yeah, no Terry Farrell or
the loaf does not do her any favors.
Yeah, that too.
And if you look at the screen test they did of Terry Farrell in that style of Trill Loaf, which are very easy to find if you Google,
absolutely,
it's hard to say it's unattractive. It's not unattractive because Terry Farrell's just, you know, and like I said, Susanna Thompson's too. It just is not this. To me, it's almost a neutral thing of like, oh, it's just the way she looks. To me, the spots like amp up everyone's sexiness by like 12 points. Like the spots are so sexy themselves that you could take a perfectly mediocre looking person, put the spots on, and you'd be like, oh, you're doing something for me. So I think the spots just elevate the sexuality and the attractiveness of the wearer. In a way that other loaf, it's like, well, she's still very attractive despite that. Instead of the spots where it's like, oh, she's extra attractive because of it.
That's a good take.
So anyway, next week, Star Trek Voyager, Persistence of Vision. The Voyager crew enters a new region of space and begins to see hallucinations. The captain sees her holonovel characters come to life. I have a huge IMDb again failing on the synopsis. Not that the synopsis is bad, but twice in like 5 words they use the word see instead of picking a synonym or an alternate word. Like, it really bothers me. Because to see hallucinations, the captain sees her holonovel. Use some different words, people. I'm sorry. As a writer, I'm offended by the repeat of the words so close together. I'm not offended enough to edit this one. Because also, like, logically, like, I'm not going to improve upon the meaning. I'm just going to fix the readability, right?
Not great word choices.
No, terrible word choice. So anyway, until then, live long.
Forget Dax. And prosper.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's Got the Time?